Hello everyone, hope you are all right. Welcome to the 8th session on Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude module. Let's start our session with a quick recap. First, we saw the question on cognitive dissonance. Alright, we studied about it and we answered the question. I hope it was helpful to you. Next, we saw the attitude formation. Basically, it is formed by a reaction, that is a stimuli. Then we saw various theories about it: Pavlovian conditioning, okay, operational conditioning, observation learning, genetic factors, direct instruction modeling, social comparison, and such. Basically, these are nothing but how attitude change also. Okay, so the theory behind attitude formation is similar to the theory behind attitudinal change. Okay, change also happens when you change its functions. Okay, which is adjustment function, ego defensive, value expressive, knowledge function. Okay, we have seen ample examples to understand this. Then we saw why to study the aptitude. Basically, if you want to change the society, that is why we need to study about it. All right. Then we saw how it is useful for a civil servant with an example. Okay, here we saw an example why from administrative point of view we need to study about it, like effect on national skill policy and midday meals. All right, then we came to social influence. Okay, what do we understand by social influence and how it affects us or why it affects us? Okay, then there are various ways by which you get influenced, like conformity, okay, reactance, obedience, leadership, socialization. Then in the final step, basically the final way you get influenced, or the most important one which is mentioned in the syllabus, is persuasion. All right, then we saw and studied about persuasion in detail, what it is. It's a process basically, okay, that wants to change your attitude or behavior. Then we saw various models: Maguire's 6-step model. Then we saw elaboration likelihood model. You don't need to remember these names, but you need to understand how things happen when somebody persuades somebody. Okay, then we came on the factors which affect the success. All right, source, message and target. Okay, then we saw the techniques of persuasion, basically 6 techniques given by Robert Cialdini. Then we saw the model by Aristotle, okay, of ethos, pathos and logos. Okay, all right, and in the last we understood that if you want to change minds, you must first move the hearts. All right, now let's move on to the question for today, the answer writing session for today. The question is, by giving examples. Okay, let's read it out first. Giving examples of some social ills plaguing the society, discuss how social persuasion can be an effective technique to overcome them. Okay, so basically we need to give this up. Okay, so first of all, don't get confused by the words ills. Basically it's evil only, and most important part is you need to understand that it is asking you to explain how social persuasion can be an effective technique. Okay, even if you don't know some ills, that would be fine, but you need to relate the steps in social persuasion to social evils and how it can be removed. Okay, so first of all we need to identify some. Okay, we will obviously follow the IBC structure: introduction, body and conclusion. In the introduction, we'll first define it and give importance in one line. Let me change the color please. Okay, define and we'll tell its importance in one line. All right, next in the body we'll discuss and relate both of them, how social persuasion can be used to overcome social ills. Then in conclusion, again we'll show its importance and we will end with one example, because it is specifically asked that you have to mention examples. So before starting, let us divide this answer into keywords, or divide the questions into keywords. First keyword can be, just a second, social ills. All right, then obviously social persuasion. See, if you break the question into a structure, it will be easier for you to write. Otherwise, you will just keep roaming about and you will not get to the point straight away. So, if you practice in structure, that is, you think in structure, okay, then you write in structure, you make your notes in a structured way, that will make it easier for you to think in the main examination. Because no matter who it is, UPSC is not going to ask direct questions, all right, from a topic. It will somehow use application and theory in one statement. All right, so many times you have to relate your theory to practical senses or practical things in the examination itself. So if you are remembering things in a structured way and you are able to identify keywords, that will be easier for you to break down the question and answer each part, so that you get effective marks. More effective answer leads to more good marks. Okay, so last, I think we can have it a keyword like overcome them. Okay, so we will structure our answer around these keywords. All right, so let's start. Coming to the introduction part, we can start by definition, like what is social persuasion. Definition we have given 2-3 definitions. You can use any definition you feel like. Okay, but with the definition, sorry, basically social persuasion, basically it is used to change people's attitude, or basically person's attitude or a group's attitude or behavior. That's it, that's the simple definition. Now when you want to change it, what do? We are going to explain that in the body, but you just write that it is used to change people's attitude. Plus one thing becomes important here, okay, that you have to mention one keyword, that it is based on free will, that is not based on coercion. Okay, so this is the introduction, and one more line, which is importance. What would be that? What would that be, or what would that look like? See, once you define what is persuasion, you can tell people or tell the examiner that it helps more than laws, rules, and regulations. Okay, or this is actually to explain you, the actual thing which you can write is, it is a so it is an important part without which social change cannot be brought. Or another way of writing is, where laws, rules, and guidelines fail, social persuasion comes into play. Okay, another way to write it. So basically in the introduction, please tell its definition and importance in one line, so that the examiner understands that you have been able to understand the question and relate to social evils. Okay, social change, it is important that you write this word. Social change or social evils cannot be eradicated without social persuasion. Okay, and best thing is, where law or one other thing, actually we are going to use it in conclusion, but another thing which you can write, it's a complementary technique to social change. Okay, with laws and rules. Or another way, effective social change. Okay, like or you can write effective removal Why I did this? Because let's use the keyword given in the question itself. Effective removal of social evils requires both laws, or you can say legal and social persuasion means. Okay, you can use any one of these. All right, so I hope you understand how to write definition and importance together. You simply write the definition in one line and give the importance in one line, because that is the summary. The introduction is the hook of the answer. Okay, and in body you explain to the examiner what you just said, and in body also you write in a structured way so that person can quickly check your answer and move on. Because if in introduction you tell them that you have understood a thing, you can easily expand in the body, and sometimes even fake some things. Okay, that is a bit unethical, but still in examination sometimes you have to write, or it not even unethical. What you can do is you can write an example in an elaborative way. Okay, and in conclusion you write some 2-3 catchy words, and that's it. Because in main examination when we write like this, introduction and conclusion are the most read parts. Not many examiner read body part thoroughly. If in introduction you have not written something properly, they might go and read body. But if the introduction is good and the body is in a structured way, okay, you have used the keywords properly, you have written something, and then you have written example, then written something. So if you present your answer in a structured way, it is much more readable. Okay, so use it to your own advantage. Use structure of an answer to your own advantage and try to write effectively. Just because you know the answer doesn't mean it will fetch you good marks. You have to write effectively so that it can be checked easily. Okay, at the end of the day it is all about that. Examiner reading your answer effectively, easy for them. Okay, you never know in what mood examiner is sitting. Okay, all right, let's come to the body part. Here there are two ways of writing this answer, or this part of the answer. Basically use the common. Okay, the common in both the path or both the ways is mention the social evils. Okay, but after that you can use the Aristotle method of logos, pathos, ethos. Okay, or you can take 2-3 social evils and then tell how social persuasion can help. I am going to use this because it is much more organized and structured way. As I said, please organize your answer. Okay, so first of all we are going to begin with the first part of the body, which can be a diagram. Okay, so here in this answer we are seeing the value of introduction, we are seeing one diagram, and we will see a good conclusion also. So in the diagram you can easily start with social ills. You can write social ills like this, make a circle. Okay, start with woman. Okay, dowry and domestic violence. Don't take too much examples, pick the most relevant examples. Okay, then child, then youth, then identity, then other evils. Okay, for child, what I think you can easily guess it: child labor, then child marriage. For youth, drug problems. Okay, radicalization, which is actually happening. Identity as, I think, try to guess before I write, because it's an answer writing session, so I am doing this. Caste, what else? Can you guess another one? Community or communalism. Okay, other evils can be, basically, let's say, let's take an example of health. In health, what you can write is water issues. Okay, then sanitation, Better than water, you can write about open defecation, although it comes under sanitation also, but sanitation is a bigger term. You can write open defecation, then disease issues, like some people are shunned in society, like people who have AIDS, leprosy and all that. So you can ignore this, and basically I want that these terms, actually what happens is, be elaborative in the answer. So more elaborative you are, you can write more and you can write simple things more. You don't need to do too much. So as sanitation includes water and open defecation, okay, water cleanliness and sanitation. People can also write wash strategy. I think you have read about it in GS paper 2. So open defecation, diseases, okay. So such are social ills that are present in our society. So this is the first part. Now let's come to the main part of the body, okay. Over here, okay, before we start, do remember to sum up the answer till now into 40 to 50 or maximum 60 words, okay, so that you can focus here for at least 80 words, okay. So you need to write here how social persuasion, okay, affects, or let's use the keywords of the question itself, okay. Social persuasion can overcome social evils or social ills, okay. So we are going to divide our answer in three parts: logos, pathos and ethos. But do remember, don't write these words in exam. Write the emotive part, okay, the cognitive part or the rational part, okay, and leadership is credibility of the leader. Emotive part, cognitive or rational part, and credibility of the leader. So don't write or logical, here you can write, don't write logos for logical, okay, and so on. So let's move on. All right, let's see the examples, because the answer says that directly you need to tell examples, okay. So we'll start with, let's say we'll start with rationality, rational or logical. Basically this is the logos part. Here you can say that many techniques use rationality to overcome social ills, as simple as that. So example is the most important thing. Let's say for drugs, lot of logic has been given, right, that it affects your health, it affects your family relations, okay, it affects you economically and so on. All right, for Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, again lot of reasons: health reasons, dignity, although dignity can also be used in emotive part. What else? Immunization, logic given behind vaccination, that it protects your child from future illness. What else? Odd even scheme, okay, data given about the health effects and the GDP and so on. So such things where logic is given, okay, to make people understand the benefits. So this is mostly given to intellectual people, okay, you don't need to write that, but I'm just telling. So basically we have discussed about it that it affects the intellectual people most, okay. Then we come to the next part, the emotional part or the pathos. Here social persuasion, we know that it hits emotions also, right. So we'll start with examples. Selfie with daughter, Okay, helps in increasing the affection towards women. Okay, towards women. Or it basically increases awareness also about female issues, you can say. Then there is another way by which we can basically appeal to the emotive part of people by catchy slogans. Like what? Darwaza Band, Izzat Ghar, and these things are being used under Swachh Bharat Abhiyan or open defecation. Ring the bell campaign for domestic violence. Okay, so such things can be used. All right, now let's come to the last part, which is the leadership, or you can use credibility. This is the ethos part. Here there are ample examples. Okay, Prime Minister doing his bit and promoting Swachh Bharat Abhiyan by actually using a broom. Okay, cleaning up the beaches, right? Amitabh Bachchan being used for polio. He brought an important social change in polio. Okay, one more thing, in campaign slogans you can use Hum Do Hamare Do campaign for population control. Okay, all right. Now what? Another examples which can be used by UNICEF. Anushka and Virat were recently, basically they talked about child rights. So such things can be used. All right. So now we come to the conclusion. In the conclusion, as discussed before, we need to just highlight in one line the importance and then one or two lines. Okay. Or basically show that by examples, as shown in the above examples, social evils can be effectively removed. Just use the language of the question itself. All right. So let's see. I'll just dictate. Okay. Or I'll just write it down also. So basically, laws are required. Okay. But above examples show that effective and long lasting social change can be brought by combination of social persuasion plus legal means. All right. Or you can use another keyword in the place of these two words. You can write intergenerational social change. Okay. So laws are required, but our examples show that intergenerational social change can be brought by combination of SP and legal means, social persuasion and legal means. Okay. Another example which you can write in the conclusion if you want, or you can elaborate in the body also, about Rajaram Mohan Roy and Sati Pratha. Okay. So he used logos, pathos and ethos in that also. Okay. In logos he translated many shastras and proved to people that no religious scripture sanctions sati. Then he appealed to the emotive part or the emotional part of the people by saying that it is related to dignity of women. It's painful. Okay, then in the end he built his own credibility by being basically developing himself into a scholar by meeting people, okay, by working hard for the community and such things. And also he was actually a good orator. So such qualities made him an effective leader or agent of social change. So Raja Ram Mohan Roy also used these factors, or you can actually, he might not have used it basically in a Aristotelian way, but we can structure it in the way we want so that we can present an effective answer. Although William Bentinck helped too, it was not just single-handedly, not any single-handedly such a big change cannot be brought upon. So William Bentinck also helped him, but basically it was 90% of work was done by him only. Alright, no disrespect to the work done by him, I am just telling that such a big social change needs a lot of factors, okay, but yes, he is responsible for the change, that's it, no doubt about that. So this is how you can end the answer. You can here include that Sati is the perfect example of how social persuasion brought intergenerational social change. So you can write intergenerational keyword over here and write effective and long lasting social change over here. So this is how you can write an effective conclusion. Here also in the conclusion you gave an example, so it reinforces your point. Okay, so in the end we saw why it is important and we defined it also. Okay, we need to remember that only laws cannot work because that can be seen in corruption, domestic violence, dowry cases. There are many such examples where laws are there but still they are being flouted because the people have not changed yet. Still we are a society in transition. Okay, then we saw then we tell the examiner about the ills in brief, then we structure our answer in 3 parts and tell how social persuasion can help, then we conclude. Okay, remember, do not write this LPE part, write it in the way I have told you, okay, like emotional, logical, credibility and so on. Okay, so let's move on to the lecture now. Answer writing part is over. I hope you have understood and I think it was helpful to you. I have told some new things today. Okay, all right, so here we will see what is aptitude. Okay, we are starting a new unit today which is aptitude. We will first of all see what it is. Obviously we are going to understand it completely, then we will see how it is different from attitude. Okay, then we'll see from government sources. I have prepared a topic, small topic, before we delve into it deeply. What are the holistic competencies basically or attitudes required for civil services? Okay, so we'll cover that today and few more things if the time permit. So but we are going to first start with the unit today, so we'll take it a bit slow and if time permits we'll take other topics also. So we will now start with the unit 3, aptitude and foundational values for civil services. So before moving forward, I want you to have a perspective or the framework with which you should start this unit. So Einstein said that everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. So this is the perspective you should have before starting this unit. This will help you understand the value of aptitude, abilities. We will see these terms, don't worry. We will see many terms and we will compare them also with examples. But point is, you need to understand and have this perspective. As I keep repeating in my lectures, you need to have a perspective, alright, because in examination you will be needed to think. Okay, the questions will require you to think something on the spot. Maybe it might be 30% of the answer or 10% of the answer, or sometime it might be 80% of the answer also. So you need to have a perspective, alright, so that you can expand on that perspective and apply Basically a perspective is a structure of understanding a thing. So how you understand, so R unit should be understood in this context. Okay, so what is the definition? You can simply mug this up. It is a very simple definition in the minimum words that I could give. Okay, so aptitude is the innate or acquired capacity for something. There are two keywords, innate or acquired. Innate ability, innate is the ability which will be studied just now. Acquired is the skills. So aptitude is basically, it's something in you. That's it. It is something in you which is there, because of which you will be able to do something in the future. So aptitude is potentiality. Alright. So in real life all these are sort of mixed up. People tend to confuse aptitude and ability. So that is why it is necessary for us to understand what is aptitude, ability, skills, knowledge, alright, talents and all. We'll compare those terms just now in the next slide. So aptitude is something which is inside you, that's it. Okay, now that can be ability or skills. Skills are developed. Please remember that skills are developed. Okay. So basically we can take a simple example that if you give a ball to a kid and the ball throws it and the kid throws the ball very well. So the kid has an ability to throw the ball very well. Okay, and similarly in India, if a person, let's say you give a bat to a kid, a cricket bat or a badminton, and the person shows an ability of good hand plus eye coordination, that is, the person can hit the ball well or hit the shuttlecock well, okay, and can move hands as per the requirement of the ball or the shuttlecock. So the person has good hand-eye coordination. Okay, so that means a person can be developed into a good sports person. So when you can develop somebody, you can develop on a foundation. Okay, that foundation is ability. And then when the person learns how to do it, okay, or it can be more precisely said that it is the aptitude of the person. Now when the person can do it in the nascent stage, it is ability, and when you develop it over a period of time, it becomes a skill. Let me explain again. Person has an aptitude of hand-eye coordination. The person's ability is to follow the ball or the shuttlecock. Skill is being a successful badminton player or a cricket player. Okay, I'll repeat again. Aptitude is good hand-eye coordination. Ability is to follow the ball or the shuttlecock and able to hit it well. Okay, ability to run fast. Skill is becoming a skillful person. That is a successful badminton. Let's say PV Sindhu, a successful cricketer, Virendra Sehwag, Yuvraj, Sachin, and another thing, aptitude is hidden, it's inside. Ability is something which you can see right now, okay, and skill is developed by rigorous practice. It can be acquired also. So we'll see the differences. I'm just explaining you. We'll see the differences, don't worry. So aptitudes can range from developed knowledge, I've told you this, acquired abilities which are known as skills, okay, here, okay. In any ways, in the bottom line is aptitude helps us to do something. Okay, all right. So some aptitudes can be taught. Some aptitudes can be taught. Those are skills. Some aptitudes cannot be taught. Those are talents. Like you might have seen that some people just cannot play sports, or some people just cannot understand maths. Okay, so they don't have talent for maths. Some people can acquire skills. Skills like when we grow in an institution, we acquire a lot of skills, people handling skills, okay, and such. Alright, so let's move on to understanding the actual differences and various terms that are involved in this aptitude, skill, ability, what is knowledge. Alright, so the difference between, let's first understand the aptitude and ability difference. Okay, that is the bigger one. So difference between aptitude and ability is that aptitude is the potential, which I just told you. Okay, so aptitude, see the life cycle is aptitude, ability and skill. Okay, so aptitude is a potential which has not been yet developed to the skill level. Okay, ability is what you can do right now, although it is not as skillful. Maybe let's say you can play a badminton game well, but you are not yet skilled to be basically a national level player. Okay, so aptitude, one more thing, you must have heard about aptitude tests and all. So aptitude tests reveal the person's abilities. Okay, if you take a mental aptitude test, that will reveal the mental aptitude of the person or mental ability. Alright, and if you take a physical aptitude test, that will reveal the physical abilities of the person. Okay, abilities are much more general, skills are much more specific and they are developed. Okay, I hope you are writing all this. Okay, let's take an example. Since I just talked about aptitude test, we should take an example of UPSC examination itself. UPSC conducts an examination. Okay, here it identifies your aptitude. Okay, aptitude of civil servant, if you have it in U. Okay, then they provide training in which they develop the ability. Since you have the aptitude, they develop your ability, or basically brings it to the surface, your ability to be a able bureaucrat. Then when you go into the, let's say, service, okay, when you go into the service, you practice, then you become a skillful bureaucrat. That is the process. I think with this example, you will be able to relate to the life cycle of aptitude towards skill. Okay, so like I just told you that there are many types of aptitude: physical aptitude, mental aptitude. There are different tests for it. Okay, by physical aptitude test, physical ability is researched, or basically it comes out. Okay, and with the mental tests, mental ability comes out. Okay, so ability, coming back to ability, it's a general term. Okay, it includes a lot of things. Okay, but when you hone it, it becomes skill. That is the main difference. This is the overall life cycle. Okay, so ability includes a lot of things which are talent, and it is basically capacity to do something. As I have defined on the screen, it is a capacity to do something. Okay, so when you sharpen your ability, okay, it can benefit the individual. Okay, so that is how ability, aptitude and skill are linked. Okay, now see, as I told you in the previous slide, that aptitude has two parts: innate and acquired. Okay, so the innate one is the talent one, or the ability. Okay, so two type of aptitudes. Okay, there are the talents and skills. Talents are basically the innate ones, the natural thing you have. It is also called as ability. Okay, so talents are innate, that's all you need to understand. Okay, these are some things which you can do naturally. Like some people are naturally good at math, some people are naturally good at running, some people are naturally good at, let's say, climbing trees. Okay, some people are genetically gifted basically to run faster, like Usain Bolt. Okay, some people are mentally gifted like Shakuntala Devi ji. Okay, a movie also recently came on her life. Okay, she was the human computer, calculator. Okay, so talents or natural aptitudes need less effort to bring out. All right, because they are naturally there, but skill is something which takes a lot of time, because it needs to be developed over a period of time. It is not developed in a day, it is developed over years and all. Okay, so one person's importantly, one person's talent, okay, one person's natural ability might be another person's skill. That is, a person A can run very fast, but a person B cannot run very fast, so he or she develops that over a period. Okay, some people can naturally run very fast. They have lean bodies, they are quick, agile, they have good muscles and all that, tendons are strong. So these things are natural. Okay, so I hope you understand the difference between talents and skills. Okay, now we should understand the difference between ability, okay, or basically aptitude, natural aptitude. Okay, natural ability and talents are same, please remember that, and between desire. Okay, desire is something which you like, simple as that, and ability or aptitude, natural aptitude is something which you have and you can develop it. Okay, so basically if you don't have the proper aptitude, all right, if you don't have the proper aptitude, even though you like something, you won't be able to develop it. I'll say it again. If you don't have the natural aptitude, strongest of interest will not be sufficient. Okay, and it's not like you won't be able to do it, but you will be very slow in acquiring those talents. Oh, sorry, not talents, but skills. Okay, so talents and aptitude are the same. Natural ability to do something, desire is something which you like, but if you do not have an aptitude for it, basically let's say you like, many people like listening to music, but not many people are musicians, they cannot create music, so they don't have the ability or the talent to do it. When you identify someone and say, oh, that person is so talented, what do you mean? Natural capacity to do something, right? So that is ability only. Okay, that person, let's say a person can let's say has a good capacity, lung capacity, so maybe they can focus on bansuri, okay, and instruments which can be blown or used with air. All right, so desire is something which you like, doesn't mean you can do it. Okay, if ability and desire mix, then it creates a lot of easier path for you to acquire any skill, and then you become much more successful also. All right, now let's take an example, like if somebody asks, do you know how to cut hair? We are now going to understand the difference between knowledge, skill and abilities. Okay, knowledge, see, I could have given you definitions also, but what I am trying to do is, by comparing each of these, you will be able to understand and correlate them better. Otherwise, giving an definition is the simplest task, but when you compare them with each other by different examples, that is where you actually appreciate and learn to use the right terminology in the paper. Okay, so this might seem a little confusing, but this is very important to understand how you can relate things. Okay, that is why I am giving you a comparative way of studying rather than just giving clear definitions. So, do you know how to cut hair? That is one example. Do you know how to cut hair? It's a simple question, right? Very simple. But with this, we can distinguish between knowledge, skills and abilities. Let's just understand. So knowledge, let's see the definition first. It's basically a theoretical thing, okay, or a mental thing rather than a practical thing. Practical thing, if you can guess, is skill. Okay, so that is the first difference. Anyways, so do you know how to cut hair? You might have a theoretical knowledge of it. Okay, you might have read it in a book, or you might have seen the barber doing it. So you analyze, okay, that person does cut some from here, some from here, holds the hair like this and all that. That is knowledge. Ability is, maybe you can cut the hair, okay, maybe you can cut the hair normally. Okay, you can analyze it, you have the analyzing power of how the head should look, and you can understand how a face, basically some people have round faces, some people have square faces, so maybe you are able to cut the hair okay types with average quality. Okay, you are able to, that is your ability. Like I just said, you are able to, focus on the word able. Okay, so you are able to. Next thing comes skills. Skills is something like you undergo a course from a training academy. Okay, then you open your shop and slowly you pick up the skills, or you pick up the practice of doing it very skillfully. wherein you can quickly cut the hair in like 15 to 30 minutes. Maybe if you did for the first time, when you saw that, oh, I am able to do it, maybe you took 1 hour, 2 hour, okay, because you did not know. So basically, being able to do something is different from being able to do it proficiently. So when you are able to do it proficiently, you become skilled. When you are able to do it normally, or that is the first time or second time or third time you are doing it, you are able to do something. Okay, you are able to walk, but are you able to power walk? Can you walk in a fast pace? There are skilled people who take participation in such races. Okay, it's Olympic sport. Okay, walking fast, power walking and all. Okay, so this is how you can differentiate knowledge, skill and abilities. I hope you understand what is the relation between desire and ability. Ability and talents are same, please remember. Okay, let us understand a little bit more. See, abilities are natural, like I just said. Okay, skills are learned behavior. I think we need to discuss skill a little bit more. We have discussed everything else. We have related everything else with skills, but let us now just briefly see skills. Skills are something which you can learn over time. Okay, by combining skills are knowledge plus abilities. Okay, because when you acquire skill, like I told you, you have to go to a training academy. Okay, or you learn how to do it. First you see, it is combination of two things. In UPSC example also, they give you ability. Okay, they hone your skills, then you hone your skills in the field. So skill is basically your theoretical knowledge which you learn in the academy, and the ability also which you might have a little bit when you cleared the UPSC examination. Okay, so basically you can relate this from one other example, that it is harder to train someone if they don't have the ability. You cannot create a musician out of a cricketer. All right, this is also applicable. This is a bit controversial, but this is also observed that when some sports people go to parliament, they are given seats on the basis of in Rajya Sabha. Okay, you know about it, you have read it in GS2. So when some sports people or people of different fields are given seats in Rajya Sabha, they are not able to contribute effectively because they don't have the aptitude for it, they don't have the ability for it. Okay, so basically it is harder to train someone. You can understand from this example skill much better. Okay, if the person does not have the required ability, foundation nahi hai, like I told you in the previous slide, if they don't have the foundation, you won't be able to develop it into the skill. Okay, so that is how it is related. I told you the life cycle, right? Let's take final example. If let's say Michael Phelps, right, he is a professional swimmer. Okay, now remember he has, let's take an example, just let me just change the screen. Okay, so there is a swimmer. Okay, they have the knowledge. He, let's say Michael Phelps, he has ample knowledge. I am just taking an example from for life cycle purpose. Okay, so that person has the knowledge of various strokes. Okay, butterfly and all that, etc. Freestyle, whatever it is. Then they know how to train. Okay, and what to eat. This is the knowledge part. They have learned this. Okay, now they have the ability also, because his lungs are actually quite bigger, so he is able to inhale more. Okay, that's actually a fact. So due to his genetic makeup, he has a unique ability to swim well. Okay, he has a the structure of his body is in such a way, streamlined. He has long arms. Okay, so that is the ability. Now to swim, okay, that is the skill. All right, here it will come. Skill is swimming. When he can utilize these two, okay, that will lead to the champion that he is right now. Okay, so swimming is the skill which is a combination of his knowledge about how to swim, okay, and his ability to swim. So knowledge plus what? ability leads to skill. Okay, so there is a, I think just to remove any confusion that you might have, you can listen to this part more again. Okay, so there is a fine line between skill and ability, like you must just have seen. Okay, so ability is learned. Okay, if you learn, if you develop it, then it becomes a skill. Okay, but if you leave it alone, it stays as ability. So if an ability is learned, it is a skill. If it is inside you only, then it is ability only, it remains. Okay, so when you refine your ability, when you utilize it, then it generates a skill. Please remember that. Okay, in the previous slide I want to tell two more things, you need to add it here. Okay, see, aptitude is a potential, like I told you, but you can develop ability into a skill. Now you will be able to appreciate this. This is why I didn't tell you previously. Okay, so aptitude is potential, ability it can be turned into a skill. Okay, so please understand this. Okay, all right, now we come to this. Here we will understand the skill development. Okay, the aptitude realization. Life cycle of aptitude realization is aptitude, ability, skill. Okay, here aptitude to ability, okay, aptitude to skill. This you develop over a period of time by practice. Okay, now skill development, why it is important, let's discuss that first before discussing how it is done. Okay, skill development is important because basically it helps you perform better. Because if you develop a skill to do something, what will you be able to do? You will be able to do in less time. Time taken reduces. Okay, then you will be able to do it in less effort. Effort taken reduces. And finally, your probability of success increases. So this is why skill development is important. That is why even the government is focusing on skill development, reskilling, because in the end this will lead to what? Economic development. Okay, so that's how you can relate. You will take less time to do the same amount of thing, you will take less effort to do the same amount of thing, and your probability of success will increase because you will be now able to do a lot of things in the same time. Okay, so this is why it's important. Now let's come to the life cycle. I just wanted to tell you about this importance of skill development briefly, because nowadays a lot of talk is going on since 2-3 years also, not just now. Okay, so basically three factors are important. Three factors are important in the life cycle. First, you have to identify what? The aptitude, and it should be done correctly. The second point is the aptitude, the attitude itself. Even I got confused, see. So attitude is needed in aptitude also. Okay, next point, your socio-economic and cultural surroundings. I am writing this way, please do not write that in the exam. I am just socio-economic, cultural surroundings. Okay, so first you need to identify the aptitude correctly. This actually issue with that is that it happens quite late in India. Okay, because people tend to follow herd mentality, especially during 10th and 12th. They follow what other people are following. Good marks take science, less marks takes art, lesser marks take humanities and all. Sorry, good marks takes science, medium level marks takes commerce, and lower than that takes arts. Okay, So that is a mentality that is followed after 10th, and after 12th what is followed? I think you will be clearly knowing that engineering and medical. So these things are followed. So these leads to herd mentality, due to which the correct aptitude is not basically identified. So that wastes a lot of time and lot of power of our youth. Okay, this is especially problematic for youth. They keep doing engineering over the years and then they become writers or actors. And people from IIT, they are becoming actors, writers, because that's an innate ability, and that is where their heart lies. Okay, there is an IAS officer. He has written books like English August. Okay, I think his name is Upamanyu Chatterjee. Let me just check. Yep. So English August by Upamanyu Chatterjee. Okay, so he has an aptitude, a very good aptitude, and he has developed it into a skill also. So he is writing. He has written numerous books. Okay. All right. So let's move on. So correct identification of the aptitude is very important. It happens quite late in India. Okay, that is the issue. Okay. Second thing is your attitude. Okay, your attitude to make something out of your aptitude, or basically your motivation, let's say. Okay, why this is a factor? Because even though you might have an aptitude to play cricket, okay, your motivation might not be that much. Okay, so this is why a quote is used famously, which I have referenced later on, that your aptitude, to convert this you need attitude. Your attitude determines your altitude rather than your aptitude. Okay, this was said by Zig Ziglar. Okay, so this is why attitude is important, your motivation. That is why many hard working people surpass and become successful than talented people. There is another quotation, something like this, that hard work works when talent sleeps, something like this. Okay, so some people are very talented, but they don't take the effort to hone it into a skill. They think we can do it, we have the ability, we can do anything, but that's not the truth in real life. In real life, there are many things which you need to learn, even though you have a good aptitude for it. So ability is not something which will basically guarantee your success. Okay, you need hard work to make it into a skill. So your attitude or your motivation, or you can say resolve to realize your aptitude, also matters a lot. We'll take examples, don't worry. First you want to try to understand this. Now last point is socio-economical cultural surrounding. In many ways you are good at something, but if parents are not supportive, you will not be able to develop that thing into a skill. All right, like 3 Idiots example. Okay, he wanted to do wildlife photography, but for fear of his parents he kept doing engineering. Okay, so that is the thing. If social, economic, cultural surroundings are not supportive for your let's say ability to be converted into skill, you will face issues. Okay, another example, nepotism. Okay, it happens everywhere in every industry, and right now in news is Bollywood industry. So if we take this example, there are many big families like Kapoors, okay, Khan family, especially Kapoor family and Bachchan family. Okay, don't write these exams in, sorry, don't write these names in exam. Okay, just write Bollywood. So there are many families in Bollywood and in politics also, wherein people with less aptitude, okay, less aptitude get what? SEC, socio economic and cultural environment. We are talking about this, no? So they get such environment that they get good training. Okay, they don't even need to ask for roles. They don't even they basically face less struggles. And even though, see, with normal people, bad actors are identified in the auditions only, but with such people coming from nepotism, I'm not against or anything, I'm just telling you the fact how it is. People who come from nepotism, their non-talent in acting is identified after 4 or 5 films. Okay, so that's how it happens. This happens in every industry. Wherever let's say there is a person who has started an industry, his son or his daughter might be the heir, okay, to the company. Okay, so the first thing, like the IAS people tell their kids to become IAS, politicians kids go to politics also, even though they might not have aptitude also, and you have an example in our politics like that. Okay, so there are many people who have the aptitude, but more than that they have this third option heavily in their favor, so they get to do it even though they might not have the aptitude. Okay, now let's take examples. So in the Kapoor family case, don't write this in exam, okay? I'm just write, and you don't need to write what I'm going to write right now in the exam also. I'm just trying to explain. Okay, so in Kapoor family, first point, that is their identification. It is done very quickly. That have the person has some talent, let it, or and the genes are considered the talent only. Okay, and second factor is very less. Okay, they might not have that much motivation also, what I mean to say. Third option is SEC, the culture, okay, the surroundings, that is very good. So they develop into skill and they get chances at success. Okay, another example which we can take is MF Iswan. Okay, he had first factor and second factor. Third factor was not supportive because he had a very poor socio-economic background. Okay, so but still his motivation was very high. Motivation was very high. That is why he was able to succeed. Okay, so one is required. The aptitude identification is required. Identification is necessary. Okay, second and third, if absent, can still lead to success. Okay, so I've given you two examples here where first and third was there. Here first and second was there. Okay, let's take example of Dhoni also. He had very high motivation, obviously he had skill. Okay, here somewhat things were lacking but still succeeded. Okay, so this is how we can imagine and change the examples and try to understand how some people are successful more than some. Okay, in the end you need to understand why India is not not winning a lot of medals. Essay has also come on this, okay, related to this topic. Why not India is not winning a lot of medals in Olympics? Can you now guess? I'll give you 5 seconds, or you can pause the video also. So why India is not winning more medals? Because India does have identification, scarce identification, but nevertheless it has identification. It has motivation also, because you have seen in news people from basically poorest strata of society, one of the poorest strata of the society, from villages. There are exceptional runners in our country like Budhia Singh and many more people. Even I see in marathons, okay, people from poor strata of society are winning more than other people. So this is why, this is the reason, okay, why India is not winning a lot of medals, because our socio-economic culture environment is lacking in supporting them, because here still education is given more importance for making a career rather than sports. Okay, so I hope you have understood this. Okay, this is the quote which I was talking about, that the attitude, okay, basically how you deal with things. We have talked about attitude, okay, and not aptitude determines altitude. I know you will be thinking that we are studying the lecture on aptitude or unit on aptitude and I am saying the attitude is more important. But the point is, this is the truth and this is how you will learn. Unless you learn to relate things, you will not be able to actually implement it in exam, and that is the most important thing. Many people just teach what is this, what is that, but if you don't understand how to relate it with other things, then you will face problems. Okay, so aptitude is extremely important, without which nothing can be done. If you don't have the foundation, you cannot do anything. Okay, see, if you don't have the aptitude for something, even skills and learning skills won't help. Like I told you, if a person does not have the ability, you won't be able to teach them. But life is the success part of life is not single-handedly dependent on aptitude. It is also dependent on your attitude, how you deal with things. That is why even in this syllabus, we are studying about aptitude and attitude. Okay, so altitude is basically success in life or level of skills you have. Okay, so I hope this is clear. You have understood what is aptitude and what are different terms, terminologies related to it, and why India is facing an issue in skill development. Okay, or aptitude realization. I've told you about the life cycle. Okay, so before moving on to the next topic, let us see this in detail. So attitude, it's your positive or negative feeling. Okay, it's your positive or negative feeling towards a person, object, event or idea, or towards an environment. Okay, how you feel. Aptitude is your natural ability to do something. All right, it's innate, it's inborn. Okay, so such things are called aptitude. You can also learn a skill. So basically, it's not set in stone that if you do not have an aptitude for something, you cannot learn it. It will be very difficult, but with your proper motivation, and like I told you, 3 factors, if you have those things, you can develop a new skill which you didn't have an aptitude for. Okay, so it is in rare cases, but it can be done. Like many people do engineering, right? They don't have an aptitude for it. They don't like it very much, but during the 4 years, they develop a sense of basically understanding and develop a skill. All right, and over the years, they hone that skill and become a competent engineer, or they quickly after 2-3 years or 5 years, they move into MBA. So it's not like you won't be able to learn something, but it's just that your success will not come that soon. It's as simple as that. If see, humans are able to adapt to a lot of situations, so people can learn something, okay, even though there might not be an aptitude for it in them. Okay, so this is okay. Let me change the color first. Attitude is associated more with the character of a person, okay, and aptitude is more close to competence. Okay, associated with competence. If you can do something, character is how you are. All right, so attitude also determines how you will arrive at a judgment. Okay, like a correct or a wrong judgment. Basically, how you will perform a task also. Let's say for example, if an officer, IAS, IPS, IRS, doesn't matter, if an officer has negative attitude towards minorities, okay, negative attitude toward minorities, he or she may delay some funding, okay, or some scholarship or execution of a project. All right, so this is an example of negative attitude. Now it determines, the aptitude determines if the person will develop skills. Okay, now skills to do what? To perform a task. Like I've told you in the definition also, that aptitude is basically something with which enables you to perform a task. So if it determines if a person will develop the skills to perform a task. Examples of attitude are confidence, cautious, tolerant. Okay, aptitude. Now this you will able to relate that CAT exam, UPSC prelims exam, and many other exams check your aptitude. So quantitative, verbal, one more is there if you can remember, reasoning. So such things are checked in CAT exam, right? Next, hand-eye coordination, like I told you, good for sports, and even in pilot testing, in a defense pilot or private pilot, in both there is a testing of hand-eye coordination. All right, such things. So this is the crucial difference between attitude and aptitude. You need to understand this so that you can clearly write answers about each of them in exam. All right, let me give you some other example also to understand it more. Attitude is basically mostly mental, or we can say it is only mental. This is one more difference. It is like only mental. So basically example is, if you have a positive attitude towards difficulties in life, you will not get depressed that much. Or we can take an example also that many people survive terminal diseases miraculously because their attitude was good. Their attitude was positive towards the disease. Okay. Now this thing, aptitude can be physical and mental, or mental. Okay, basically it can be of two types. Okay, for an example, if a person wants to join defense or police services, you need to have both physical and mental aptitude. Okay, if you have good physical attitude, you can become a good sports person. Only physical, you can still become a good sports person. Okay, now as I've told you, problem in India is that people don't relate, follow herd mentality. Okay, they don't identify their basically aptitude early, and worst of all, they pick professions which are maybe not conducive to their aptitude. Okay, so basically they pick up professions without seeing whether they have the aptitude or not. Okay, so basically a lot of time the career is chosen by chance and not by choice. Okay, that leads to job dissatisfaction. This is what I was talking about, that you might be able to do a job, you might be able to develop a skill based on your non-ability, but later on it won't be basically satisfactory, or you won't have success in it. Okay, now for a civil servant, they need at least three aptitudes. Okay, intellectual, emotional, moral. We'll read about this later, but for now please understand this. Okay, I hope it is clear. Okay, examples are clear. All right, so I hope you have understood this. Now we shall move forward to aptitude for civil services. Okay, this is our next topic. Till now we have studied about the meaning of aptitude and relation of aptitude and with other terms, and understood other terms also. Okay, so basically now we need to understand that for civil services, what type of aptitudes or basically competencies or basically values, right, are needed. We'll study about the values, but first we need to understand the aptitude that is needed for civil services. Under two committees, okay, not rather two committees, under Kiran Agrawal committee and DOPT, some holistic competencies were identified. Okay, holistic competencies were identified which are needed for a civil servant. All right, so holistic competence actually means knowledge, and values. It is not just values, it is not just knowledge. So holistic competence is a mix of both. Like I've told you, skill comes from knowledge and the abilities. So similarly, holistic competence for a civil servant will come from knowledge and values. Just trying to relate with the okay, with that topic. Okay, so we'll start with, there are 4 topics in it. We'll see them individually, but right now we will try to understand them in relation to each other. Ethos, ethics, equity and efficiency. Ethos, as we have studied, okay, is character. Okay, in this last lecture we studied ethos is character of a person, organization or institution. Ethos basically means philosophical aptitude. That doesn't mean you need to understand philosophy. That means that you understand the things behind actions. Basically, you understand values behind some action. You understand dilemmas. Okay, basically you are able to think. That's what it boils down to in a practical sense. Okay, or basically what values do you follow? What ethics you follow? What morals you follow? Okay, although we'll deal with ethics separately, but it is interrelated. All right, now let's see the examples. Examples can be preamble is guiding us with a constitutional values. So government runs on preamble, that is constitutional ethos, that where it fits. The constitution values, the constitutional ethos. Okay, preamble is constitutional ethos. Okay, so government runs on constitutional ethos. All right, so ethos is basically guiding values of a person, organization, guiding values of an organization, person or an institution. All right, or the character. Okay, I hope it is clear. Okay, philosophical aptitude, guiding values, character of a person, organization or institution. Example, preamble. Another example we can take healthcare. What values do they follow? Impartiality, compassion, empathy, care ethics basically, right? So this is how ethos needs to be understood, basically the values you follow. Okay, second we come to ethics. Ethics can be known as moral aptitude of a person. Okay, that leads to a person, this is basically a foundation which leads to a person being following probity. We'll read about probity, okay, in detail, don't worry. That leads to person being honest. If the person is ethical, that person will be honest, upright. Okay, such compassionate behavior will be there. Okay, such values will be followed. Why? Now, why do you need this? Because civil services as a service has a lot of responsibilities on them. Okay, civil services and civil servants have a lot of responsibilities on them. So many times there is a discretion involved in the service and a lot of funds are involved. So if the person is not ethical, that will lead to obviously degradation in the quality of service, or the person will not work for the system or the people. Person will work for themselves only. So ethics are important. Okay, next we come to equity. Equity, you can understand this as social aptitude. Social aptitude. Okay, here you can think about society. Okay, if the person has the aptitude conducive to society's growth. All right, so this is an angle where you focus on person's social aptitude. Like for governance, what do we need to follow? Antodaya. Antodaya. Okay, basically not leaving the last person, the service reaching to the last person, last mile governance basically. Okay, so you can write that, last mile governance. Okay, here you can also write SDGs keyword, okay, or key phrase, reaching for the last, the first. Okay, reaching for the last, the first. What else? Citizen centric government. Okay, this is again very important for India Because can you think, we have a lot of diversity, we have a lot of people who are disadvantaged, okay, downtrodden, exploited, like children, women, they are exploited, right? Child labor, sex labor, okay, is also there, sex trafficking, such things are involved. So that is why we need people who have social aptitude, so that they can realize who needs what, okay. All right. So efficiency. Here it simply means working in an organized way, okay, or you can understand work aptitude. Keyword can be work aptitude. So if the person is efficient, they would work in an organized way. Okay, this will lead to what? Optimum utilization of resources. This you can relate with the economic topic, right? Now why this is important? This is important because in India, the public services deal with a lot of public funds, and not just in India but everywhere public service does that. But in India we have a lot of connect with this, okay. We need social equity, right? So if the funds are allocated to all the needy people, that would lead to more efficient growth and development. That is the whole agenda, okay. For development, we need efficiency in the disbursement of fund and utilization of funds. All right, now we will see ethos, ethics, equity, efficiency one by one. Do remember that this is given by, this is from government sources, okay, DOPT sources, okay. So that is why we are studying this, because it is especially relevant for Indian civil services. All right, so this is the holistic competence expected out of a Indian civil servant. Now let's see ethos, ethics, equity, efficiency quickly one by one by understanding their keywords and their functionalities. We'll come to the ethos part. So as we know, ethos means the culture of the organization or the individual. Here we can understand it as philosophical aptitude towards the organization, all right. So, or the norms that is followed by the organization. So you can relate these qualities to other values also, and we'll see that as we go on in this chapter. And you can relate it to other chapters like emotional intelligence or attitude, and so on, like all the service values which we are going to see in 6 and 7 unit. You can relate them to that also. I'm just telling you beforehand because I know that, but I'm reminding you so that when we discuss all those things, you also get a little bit of you remember that you have studied this before and you can relate it better then, okay. So we'll start with people first. So people first is basically putting people first, pro people rather than pro institution, rather than pro self. Got it? So this is basically the foundation of democracy, right? And since we know that we are living in a democratic era, so being people first becomes an important part of the culture, or the way you think about things, okay, or the way you want to design a civil services institution, okay. So we are in a democratic era and we need to focus on being people first. What does that mean? Being people first, actually this is the importance, right? And what does it mean? It means that you are, okay, I'm going to write a acronym. Oh, sorry. Understanding, addressing, okay, and promoting, okay. So this is how we can remember this, okay. Now let me explain this, that people first or pro people approach in democracy means that you are sensitive, okay. You are sensitive towards people's need or their concerns. You can anticipate their concerns or the problems that can come. You understand their concerns when they come to you. you successfully or at least try to address their concerns, okay, and then you promote their interests. Okay, let me say it again: sensitive, anticipate, understand, address, and promote. Sensitive towards their concerns, anticipate their concerns, understand their concerns, address their concerns, and promote their interests. Okay, so this is the approach. This is what it actually means being people first or pro people or people focus, whatever you want to call it. It can come in any way. See, in UPSC, one question of 150 marks can come on this topic only. What is meant by people first? Now people will think that it is a normal rule in democracy. We need that. But how do you write an answer? You write it in a structured way. That is why I have created this diagram. That is why I am telling you line by line and in a structured way, that please try to remember it this way. And in the end, you can say that it is the moral requirement of the day. So remember to read in a structured way so that you will be able to remember, relate and revise better. Alright. So this is the culture that needs to be developed, culture of people first. Okay. So I will write it here: culture of an organization should become people first. Okay. Alright. Chalo. We move on to the leadership aptitude or leadership part of the ethos. Basically, leadership, you understand what it means, and we have also practiced a question on it. Okay, so here we are talking about civil servants and the institution of civil services also. So the leadership, the main role of leadership is to convert vision into reality. Example: open defecation free country is a vision of the Honorable Prime Minister. We need to convert it into reality. We means the institution of civil services. Okay, so obviously we need capable leaders like the secretary, okay, who climbed down the pit. If you remember, that was a big news also. So that is leadership, right? Actual leaders make people follow something by giving them an example rather than just blabbering things. So he got down into the pit himself, cleaned it and told people that it is safe to do so. So he set an example. So that is leadership. Just an example of leadership. Okay. Now leadership needs to be effective. Effective in the sense it should not waste things. Okay. And how we can do that? Basically not waste things. We need to identify the skill of the team. Alright, if I have 10 people and some people, obviously not every person will be good at same thing. Some person would be better at doing mental jobs. Some person would be good at doing physical jobs. Some person would be good at interacting with public. Some person might not be so good. So I will distribute the responsibilities based on the skill that my team has. Okay, so skill I need to see and then distribute responsibility, because an important part of leadership is delegation. Alright. Okay, so we need to turn vision into reality. Okay, increase the effectiveness of team and have distribute jobs according to the skills. Okay. Alright, let's move to institutional awareness. What does this mean? This basically means that you are aware of the institution you are part of. Okay, every institution has some informal and formal rules. Okay, or let's say informal and formal mechanisms. Formal mechanisms are rules, laws, bylaws, okay, the structure, the hierarchy. These are all formal things. Informal things can be said about culture, how the company behaves with female employees, how does the company behave with young employees, do they provide them with enough career growth and all that. Okay, how is the payment structure, is it fair, how is the holiday structure, is it fair, things like this. Okay, basically the culture of an organization, the norms, the conventions. Okay, like is meritocracy supported in the organization. Okay, now why are we reading this? Because in institutional awareness you need to be aware that these should be rational, okay, based on reason, or basically they should be reasonable. If not, then these need to be changed. Okay, all right. So this is the part of institutional awareness. Now we come to commitment to the organization. Now, why are we reading this? Because the although we should be committed to the organization, obviously, okay, but at the same time we should not be slave to it, okay, or rather we should not make the organization about ourselves. Okay, basically what I mean is that we should become part of the organization and not focus on the self, and focus on organizational values. Okay, in this we need to understand that we need to be process driven, because when a person is self basically focus on self, that person might not follow process so much. Okay, they might follow ad hoc rules, ad hoc mechanisms, wherein they make rules on the spot and do the work according to that. No, we need to be process driven, okay, and not person driven. Because when you become part of an organization, you become part of something bigger than yourself. Okay, last point is rational thinking. Your ethos, okay, the way you think should be based on reason. Your character should be rational, because as a civil servant you will be dealing with literally with the life and death situation sometimes. So if you're not based on reason, then the decision might not be sound. Okay, that is why so many case studies ask you some dilemmas, because they want to see what reason do you follow. All right, so you need to have a base of reason in your character. All right, here in this topic we can relate it with Antodaya, right? If you have a reason that while designing a scheme you will think of the last person, how it will be delivered to the person, and so on, how much will be delivered, okay, then you can easily develop a good scheme. Okay, so this is how the character should be of a civil servant. Let's move on to the ethics part, the moral aptitude. I think it's a bit small. Just a second, let me increase the font size. Okay, I think now it's fine. So we come to the ethics part, the moral aptitude of the civil servant. In this, we will focus on three values: integrity and uprightness, accountability and self-confidence. Okay, you can also call them as characteristics. All right, so integrity and uprightness. Basically this means, just a second, yeah, basically this means following values, okay, especially when it is not easy to do so. Okay, we'll read about integrity a lot because it's a separate topic in itself. Integrity is there in personal sphere and in the professional sphere. It basically boils down to one simple statement that what you think and what you do are in sync, so that you do not face any cognitive dissonance. That's again we are going to study separately. We will not go into deep right now about this, but let me just explain it to you through examples, that you need to follow values which are important. Okay, not just when that is easy, but when it is not easy to follow them. Okay, avoiding this also includes avoiding conflict of interest, okay, this obviously means acting ethically, because our topic is ethics, acting ethically. Okay, this also includes being a role model for others. Okay, like there are many people or many civil servants, okay, Ashok Khemka, Satyendranath Dubey, all right, Durga Shakti Nagpal, such people have created a role model for other people to follow. Okay, they have become role models, right? So integrity and uprightness means you follow the integrity or the value of the office even though it might be difficult to do so. Basically, when facing corruption, when facing corruption and basically even threat of life, okay, some things like that. Actually, we are going to deal with it in detail later on, so that is why I'm not going deep into it. Okay, coming to accountability. Accountability includes responsibility also and answerability. Basically, if you are accountable, that means you are answerable. You will be answering for the mistakes. When you are responsible, it is not necessary that you will be answerable. Only accountability includes answerability. Responsibility does not include answerability. Okay, so in this we need to develop a culture in the organization, okay, wherein people are accountable even if there are some laws or not. Okay, so basically all present invisible eye is there which is watching you constantly so that you are acting in a fair manner, acting in a manner that helps the public and not you, right? So accountability basically means, and yeah, it should come from within. That is what you need to remember. Accountability includes answerability, and if you are answerable, you are accountable. If you are not answerable, you are not accountable, you are responsible. Okay, so remember, in the end I was going to discuss this, but okay, let me just tell you now that we need to, whenever you write about values, you need to write in the end that we need to imbibe this in the culture of the organization and culture of the members, like ethos. All these values, people first, leadership, institutional awareness, commitment, rational thinking, should be made a part of the culture of the organization. Similarly, integrity, accountability, self-confidence, we'll read about self-confidence. These things need to be included in the culture of the organization, where every employee focuses on this. Okay, self-confidence. So basically this will lead to successful job fulfillment. Okay, basically it will give you confidence in your ability to fulfill your job, fulfill your job role, okay, and to motivate others. Okay, so such things help in developing moral aptitude. Okay, this will, let's take an example that during a disaster, obviously, which is one of the most crucial moments wherein all these values come into conflict and then you need to decide what to do, right? Then at that time, when a minister pressurizes you to favor his or her family, then what will you do? Your integrity and uprightness will decide that. Now, if you do your job properly, and if you want to do your job properly, that's the main thing, you will be accountable. That accountability, level of accountability will decide that. And if you know how to take right decisions, if you are prepared, you are skilled, you will have high self confidence and you will be able to take good decisions. You will be able to motivate people during that difficult time. So this is how these all three play into your decision making and your basically fulfillment of job requirement as a civil servant. All right. All right. So here is a quote which I found quite relatable right now. I think with this you will be able to quickly understand. Okay. Accountability. Okay, red was the right one. Okay. See, accountability means it is not only what we do, but also what we do not do, for which we are accountable. Okay. This we can understand positively that, okay, this part, not do, because what we do, you understand already. We discussed it. So positively, if we understand what we do not do, basically do not become corrupt. So we are accountable for that, right? That is our own responsibility. We will be rewarded with public trust. That many times you hear that bureaucrat has a clean image. Why? Because they did not get into the mud of corruption. All right. Negatively, if we see that, if during a disaster you do not service the vulnerable first, you are accountable for that. So that is the negative thing, that you did not do the required thing. Okay, so you're accountable for that. There will be inquiry later on. Why did you not do it? You had the means, you had the resources. Okay, why did you let them die, and so on. So such things is there. Okay, we'll discuss about this later on, but I just liked it and I thought that it will make you understand things more. Okay, this is a good quote which can directly used in the paper. Okay, let's move on to the equity part. Okay, the social aptitude. Okay, so first part is consensus building and consultation. Consensus building, I think you know what it is. It is basically coming to oneness with people. Okay, or oneness in decision making. Okay, why do we need so? Because you know India is a heterogeneous society. We have a lot of people who belong to different castes, different classes, different religions. So we need a person in a leadership role who can connect leadership with ethos. So we need people who have such or we need people who are in leadership position who can actually consult with people, who can talk, who can build a consensus around things. Okay, and not impose decisions. Okay, so because this is necessary for participative governance. This is a keyword. This is necessary for participative governance. All right, example can be taken as citizen charter. Let me write it, citizen charter. Here why it is important, because a criticism is levied upon people who make it, because they say that those people do not take citizens' concern into picture before designing the citizen charter. All right, so and what else can be included in this? Giving voice to people, obviously, right? Then giving opportunity to people to express themselves. That is what I was saying, how you will build consensus, by giving opportunity to people to participate, right? So all these things are included in consensus building. Example can be when there is a rehabilitation due to a dam development or big basically land acquisition, okay, road development for anything else. You need people who can consult and develop consensus around land acquisition. Otherwise there might be riots. Okay, because every decision in public service has a social consequence. It will affect lives of people. That is why we are studying all this, right? To how to take an ethical decision in the end. Okay. All right. So this is why we need consensus building, because of the social consequence of actions of civil servants. This will also need openness to new ideas. Okay. All right. See, all these things, they don't have a hierarchy that if I'm discussing empathy in the last, it will have less value. No. What I'm trying to discuss is in a structured way, I'm trying to tell you what values are important under which aptitude. Any question can come on all the four, question can come on single aptitude, or question can come even on one value, like how consensus building is important. That is why I gave you an example, two examples, citizen charter, dam. And about dam, I told you about its social consequence. I told that, and features are, it needs to have a participative governance. It needs to give people opportunity to express themselves, and the leader who is building consensus should be open to new ideas so that they can change things on the spot and build consensus. Okay, like there is a famous quotation that you cannot go to negotiation with a closed fist. Okay, so you need to be open to new ideas. Next we come to innovative thinking. Okay, this openness to new ideas also comes to this. Now, innovative thinking simply includes out of the box thinking. This you will obviously know. Best example is Armstrong Pam. Okay, he built a 100-kilometer road without government funding, by using Facebook, by using his local people. Okay, by using his connection to local people. Okay, by using his legal authority. Okay, because he obviously told people that he is an IS, right? So that is how. So basically persuasion he used. Okay, how was he able to do that? Because he had an out of box thinking. So he created out of the box solution. Okay, so basically you need to develop again, I told you right about the keyword culture over here, culture. So we'll relate to that here also. We need to develop a culture of innovative thinking in the organization. Okay, we need to motivate others to be innovative and not just resist change, be open to change. Okay, such thinking will lead to more equity in the civil services. Okay, next we come to the communication part. Obviously this is understandable. Okay, because if you do not communicate properly, how will you build consensus with people? Simple, it is part of actually emotional intelligence. We'll read that later. Okay, now how do you, if you can't communicate, you cannot build consensus. Okay, you cannot persuade people to change themselves. Okay, you cannot inculcate values, right? You cannot share knowledge, you cannot give feedback. Okay, and the most important part, you cannot convert vision to reality. Because if you cannot communicate your vision to people, if you cannot communicate the process you want to follow to people, how will you convert it into reality, right? Knowledgeable. Obviously you need to have knowledge while dealing with aptitude. Knowledge we read about is theoretical knowledge. So basically those are facts. Okay, so the whole thing rests on facts. Like your way of doing work should be fact over faith. Okay, over faith, belief, opinion. Because we live in an era of fake news. We live in an era of post-truth society. Okay, when such things are there, how will you make decision? If somebody is enraged due to fake news, okay, when there is a riot due to fake news, how will you solve that? First you will try to build a consensus, right, and have some innovative thinking how to dispel people. Okay, then you will try to communicate to them that this is not a real news, it is a fake news. Okay, how will you do that? If you are knowledgeable only. Okay, so this is how you can connect this with the case study. Empathy, we'll read about this later on in detail. Empathy, sympathy, compassion. Okay, we'll read about that, but right now we just have to understand empathy. In one line, it means you have to put yourself in others' shoes. For example, if a farmer usually comes from, they live in rural areas, they come to, let's say, DM's office, which is in urban or semi-urban area, right? So they come to DM's office by traveling far. Okay, let's say the office closes at 5 p.m. but the farmer came at 5:15. Okay, so it becomes necessary on the part of the officer. Okay, let's say DM. It becomes incumbent on the DM to entertain the farmer, to listen to the farmer. Okay, at least help in ensuring that the demand is listened, and whatever the farmer needs, if it can be done on that day, then do it on that day. So this will ensure what? Equity, which we are reading right now. Okay, and increase public trust. So this is how things relate to actual on the field actions. If you have all these things in your mind before making a decision, obviously at the first time this would seem very overwhelming, but I just broke it down. Okay, so you have to break things down, read it in a structure, relate with examples, and that's it. The things which I wrote over on the right hand side, you don't need to remember that. Okay, or you don't need to write it in the exam. The things that are typed, you need to remember those. Okay, all right. Now let's move on to the last part of today's lecture, efficiency, which can also be known as the work aptitude, how you perform your work. All right, what abilities do you have regarding your work? Okay, so efficiency is the last keyword for today. All right, let's wrap this up quickly. So basically decisive means being clear headed, about decisions. Okay, you have, and clear headed. Decisive also taking decisions in time, deciding in time, also deciding them rationally and not an emotional reaction. You basically, there is a term, right, reaction and respond. So you respond to something and not react. Okay, then you should be objective while making a decision. Okay, so basically in time, rational, that is based on facts. All right, be clear headed, be objective. We'll read about objectivity. Okay, it is going to be discussed, don't worry. So basically you should be basing your decisions on facts and not biases of your own, not on your prejudices and so on. Okay, delegation means distributing or basically letting others do the work. Okay, giving your work to your subordinates, practically it translates into that, and you need to do this by trusting your juniors or colleagues. Okay, by giving them autonomy and ownership. Trusting them, you understand what it is. Autonomy, that means not micromanaging them, but yes, managing them, but with some autonomy, like many Rajputs under Akbar. Ownership means they are responsible for it. It's their product, sort of. People say, na, it's their baby. Okay, like they are developing it from the scratch. Okay, they are responsible for its successful delivery, right, of the job. Okay, delegation is this. Also, when you give them ownership, the relation between autonomy and ownership, when you give them more autonomy, you give them ownership also, and this builds trust in the organization between the employers and employees. Okay, because everybody at the end of the day wants some knowledge, not knowledge, but some ownership, not ownership, but let's say responsibility or acknowledgement of their hard work, right? So that results in basically what knowledge I was talking about, that the employer knows, has the knowledge of the work done by you. So if they know that, they start trusting you more, then they start giving you more autonomy, and then you get ownership of a product or something. Okay, that is some how it works, a bit of hierarchy. Why diligence? Diligence is needed because we deal, or the civil servants deal with a lot of public funds, and at some days deal with public life rather than public life, citizens life. Decisions actually impact, and they are of magnitude of life and death some days. Okay, so public funds are involved, citizens life is involved, so attention to detail is necessary, detail orientation is necessary. Okay, you need to validate those, basically whatever you find in your due diligence, you validate them, okay, by comparing them with the facts. Problem solving, that is one obvious thing which is needed. You need to be solution oriented, because otherwise why is UPSC appointing or recommending you? Because you have a solution orientation towards problem. That is why in answer writing, try to include some solution, some committee recommendation, so that the examiner sees that you have read the topic in the 360-degree and you are focusing not just on let's say mugging up things, but actually trying to solve these problems that the country is facing. Okay, also since we are studying ethics, you need to be aware of dilemmas, that while handling some problems, which dilemmas will you face and how will you solve them. Okay, so basically you should have a hierarchy of dilemmas or values in your mind by the end of this series, and before the mains examination have some dilemmas, know some dilemmas. We'll study about this in case studies also. Have a hierarchy of values by which you can solve the dilemmas. Okay, result orientation, I think you also understand this. Basically you need to have focus on what you need to deliver and not just what you need to do. So we need to focus on ends also and means also. Okay, we can't be focused too much on any one of these things. Okay, we need to focus on end and we need to focus on means also. Okay, so when there are challenging goals, how do you keep your focus? By being result oriented. Okay, and result doesn't mean any result, it should be a qualitative result. That is, people's life should change by the quality of life, not just by quantity of things. That is, not by the number of flyovers, but the usability of those flyovers and roads. All right, not by the GDP numbers, but by the clean air, clean water that is available to the common man. Okay, one example can be E. Sridharan, okay, wherein he delivered the metro phase 1 on time, which was not at all expected. I have discussed it also. Okay, last point, planning on coordination. Basically it is where you systemize your workflow. Okay, you break it down into parts, you give them, assign them dates. Okay, you assign them to your basically delegation, you do your link it to delegation, and this is how, by including all of these, you convert vision to reality. And do remember, all these four things which we just studied, they are interlinked. Ethics, ethos, equity and efficiency are all related. These four E's are related. You can put, or you can relate any value with the other value of another aptitude. Okay, so coordination, you can relate it with consensus and communication. If you can communicate properly, you can coordinate properly. How do you delegate? By communicating properly. By how do you do due diligence? Okay, by being knowledge, focusing on knowledge on facts. We have read about knowledge and facts over here, right? Okay, so this is how you relate things. If you relate, you will be able to remember it more. Although there have been less examples in this session, but point is we need to study this first, then understand the examples, and in the next lesson we are going to use examples, so you can use those examples with this values also. Okay, all right, so that's all for this session. Let's quickly summarize everything. Okay, so we need to understand how aptitude affects the life. Okay, we understood what is aptitude. It's basically innate or acquired capacity to do something. We understood talents, ability, desire, skill, knowledge. Okay, intelligence, one thing is there, intelligence is something of a capacity. Basically is intelligence is capacity of an individual, okay, to basically think based on facts. Okay, so if a person is let's say rational, okay, and can deal effectively with his or her environment, that person is called intelligent. Okay, so intelligence relates to the person's mind and how they deal with the environment. Okay, so we saw the aptitude, we saw four basically parts of holistic development. Okay, the next part. Okay, sorry, the aptitude realization. How did we there is a life cycle of aptitude, ability and skill. So how do we develop it? We saw it. Okay, then we saw that attitude and not aptitude actually determines your altitude. Okay, then we saw the difference between these two. Then we saw aptitude for civil services. We will see the values in the next class. We saw the holistic competence. Okay, it's a keyword which is given by DOPT committee also. So ethos, ethics, equity and efficiency, we understood each of them. We saw examples, we saw what they include. Do remember that you don't need to remember all the 4 or 5, like there are 5 values here. You don't need to remember all of them, but some of them. Okay, or at least it would be good that if you remember this diagram. Okay, so we saw ethos, ethics, equity and efficiency. Okay, all right. So in the next class we are going to see the values and remaining topics. Okay, oh sorry, the question is on the next slide. Ethos, ethics, equity and efficiency are the key criteria based on which the competency of civil servants should be judged, analyzed. Okay, please do exercise this question. Okay, try to write something. We have discussed these topics. Okay, you can, I think, relate with it somewhat. try to write it. We'll see the answer in the next session. Okay, all right. Thank you everyone. Thank you for your patience. We will meet in the next lecture. All right, this is all for this lecture. I hope you have learned something today. All right, okay, chalo, we'll meet in the next class. Thank you everybody. Take care.